Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have my September book haul for you, so stay tuned. So if I counted right, I have 27 books here to haul for you. I bought a lot of books from Books A Million. I think I got some off of Amazon. I have books from, I think, just Unplugged Book Box in this haul. And then I have at least one that was sent to me. So let's just jump right in. I'm super excited. Okay, so let's start with The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is book 2 in the Eldest Curse series by Cassandra Clare, and y'all know I love Cassandra Clare. I love all of these Shadowhunter books so much, and this is well, the Eldest Curse series kind of follows Alex and Magnus, and I love them, so I'm super excited to have this. And it's also quite thin, and I'm really excited to get to this one. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I've waited so long to read it. I haven't had a chance. Okay, next up, okay, this is a book. This is the one that was sent to me. It was sent kind of against my request. I had an author reach out to me and they wanted to send me this book, and I told them I really didn't think this was a book for me and that they shouldn't waste it sending it to me because it's not one that I'm actually going to read. But they wanted to send it to me anyway, so I figured I'd at least show it, and I told them that I would show it off and then I would pass it on to somebody else. It is called Run Into the Fire by Sean Patridge, and this is like a Christian fiction. Hold on, let me pull it up so I can tell you exactly like what this is supposed to be about, because the back doesn't really tell you anything. Okay, it says Hugley is simple, a nice guy, foreign, uneducated, and shy. He gets along with children, rabbits, and rats much better than with the sophisticated who tinker with society through their agents. The enemies may be educated, wealthy, and powerful, and even seductive and vicious, but Hugley's got more than a few tricks up his sleeve. He's got friends in high and low places that never lose sight of him. His sometimes deluded and skeptical friends may think he's there to help them, but they've got it all wrong. All wrong. When faced with evil in its many forms, it's often best to just run away, but Hugley knows too that it's often best to stand firm, and at other times it's best to run as fast as you can right into the fire, especially if saving others. When whole armies and all civilization need saving, God chooses to send his best. 6-inch tall men who slay dragons, giants, and prosperity preachers. That's what this is about. And this thing is thick and heavy. Oh my goodness. It's 571 pages. Feels like a brick. Yeah. But yeah, I'll be passing this on to somebody else. Actually, let's make it 28 books, because I can't remember if I hauled this in my August or not, and I'm currently reading it. I think it came in September. I'm not entirely sure. That is Sentience by Courtney P. Hunter. This is another book that was sent to me. I'm like about 100 pages into it right now, and I'm really enjoying it. It's about this competition kind of thing where they send in 20 people into this environment called Eden. It very much reminds me of like Hunger Games, like that aspect of it. And they have to spend, I think it's 2 weeks in this place, 2 or 3 weeks. And during that time, they have to determine which of the 20 people are AIs. And there's like 3 or 4 AIs in here. And they're made to look and sound and act, bleed, cry, everything like a normal human. And the goal for the people running the test is that nobody can determine who the actual AI is. But the goal for the people in the experiment is to figure it out. It's really interesting. The only downside I can say to this so far is there are so many characters to keep up with that it gets a little confusing. But other than that, I'm excited, really excited for this book. Okay, next up. This is a book I think that came from one of my Unplugged Book boxes, and that is The Obsidian Tower by Melissa Caruso. And this says, guard the tower, ward the stone, find your answers right and bone. Keep your trust through wits or war, nothing must unseal the door. Deep within Gloomingard Castle lies a black tower. Sealed by ancient magic, it guards a dangerous secret that has been contained for thousands of years. As warden, Ryzander knows the warning passed down through generations. Nothing must unseal the door. But one impetuous decision will leave her with blood on her hands and unleash a threat that could doom the world to fall into darkness. And it sounds really interesting and looks super creepy. Next up, I think that was like one of the Unplugged adult ones. And then one of the Unplugged young adult had A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. And I've heard really good things about this. This says, A Song Below Water is the story for today's reader, a captivating modern fantasy about black mermaids, friendship, and self-discovery set against the challenges of today's racism and sexism. In a society determined to keep her under lock and key, Tavia must hide her siren powers. Meanwhile, Effie is fighting her own family struggles as she's pitted against literal demons from her past. Together, these best friends must navigate the perils of high school's junior year. But everything changes in the aftermath of a siren murder trial that rocks the nation, when Tavia accidentally lets out her magical voice at the worst possible moment. Soon, nothing in Portland, Oregon seems safe. To save themselves from drowning, Tavia and Effie's unbreakable sisterhood must prove to be the strongest magic of all. And it's also quite short. Okay, I think this one's another adult one from the Unplugged Book Box, and that is Cartaga by A.N. Sage. They thought they got them all. They missed one. And this says, never use your magic, especially if you're not alone. Sid, a gifted mechanic, has contemplated this rule countless times over the years. Having spent her whole life playing doctor to an alien ship thousands of miles above her home, she wants nothing more than to find her place amongst her people. But when Sid's wish is granted by a catastrophic failure that sends her hurtling into the wild jungle of the star below, she realizes two things. Neostar isn't as perfect as she originally believed, and sometimes rules need to be broken. For on Neostar, the use of magic has been long diminished. The native populace from which her heritage stems have been enslaved for generations, and the queen she's idolized from childhood is nothing like the benevolent figure that has perpetually graced her telescreen. Lost and alone, Sid longs to return to the sky, but sometimes running isn't an option. A revolution simmers beneath the surface, and all must choose a side. But with the survival of an entire race on the line, how much difference can one small girl make? After all, freedom comes at a price, but not everyone is strong enough to pay it. That one's heavy too. Like, some of these are like, I don't know, they feel dense. This one's 485 pages, and I see that there is a sequel, because there's a picture of it in the back here. Cartaga 2.0, A Star Reborn. And I'm guessing this is another adult one, because the adult ones tend to be paperback and the YA ones tend to be hardcover. So this one's 4 Seasons at Angelino's, A Year to Find the One by Carolyn McBride. This looks like a rom-com. This says, culinary chaos and toxic liaisons can't stop Charlotte's fearless quest to find love before it's too late. Charlotte's vow to replace her devious boyfriend with Mr. Right should be easy for the ambitious restaurant publicist with access to men all over the world. But stir in nefarious colleagues, work romances, and a frenemy with escapades around the globe, and you'll get a recipe for disaster. During a downward spiral of calamities in Japan, India, France, Russia, and stateside, the hopeful romantic believes she'll finally savor the sweet taste of victory, and perhaps Wyatt, the elusive teetotaler environmentalist, who always rises to the top like a perfect souffle, is the man to put out her fires and set the butterflies in her stomach free. Yet something is holding him back as he keeps Charlotte in the friendship zone. Will she mature in time to uncover his secrets, or leave him behind as she falls for another new man every season? 4 Seasons at Angelino's is a modern relationship story about women's empowerment, timing, communication, prioritizing, undeniable chemistry, and all the other ingredients that compromise a delicious dish called love. And I think it's going to be cute. Next, I believe this is another Unplugged, but a YA one. And that is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I have seen this book like all over Twitter with people with the earrings and stuff, because it was like the pre-order gift or whatever, you wear these earrings. This says, Corey Fields is dead. When Enchanted Jones wakes with blood on her hands and zero memory of the previous night, no one, the police and Corey's fans included, has more questions than she does. All she really knows is that this isn't how things are supposed to be. Corey was Enchanted's ticket to stardom. Before there was a dead body, Enchanted was an aspiring singer struggling with her tight-knit family's recent move to the suburbs while trying to find her place as one of the few black girls in high school. But then legendary R&B artist Corey Fields spots her at an audition, and suddenly her dream of being a professional singer takes flight. Enchanted is dazzled by Corey's luxurious life, but soon her dream turns into a nightmare. Behind Corey's charm and star power lurks a dark side, one that wants to control her every move with rage and consequences. Except now he's dead and the police are at the door. Who killed Corey Fields? All signs point to Enchanted. Award-winning author Tiffany D. Jackson delivers another riveting, ripped-from-the-headlines mystery that exposes horrific secrets hiding behind the limelight and the power of a young woman's voice. And if I know Tiffany D. Jackson, she's going to mess you all up, because that's what she does in her books. Okay, next up we have When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, and this is a thriller, and this was in one of the adult Unplugged boxes. This says, Rear Window meets Get Out in this gripping thriller from a critical acclaimed and New York Times notable author, in which the gentrification of a Brooklyn neighborhood takes on a sinister new meaning. Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting up like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other, or themselves, long enough to find out before they too disappear? And next, okay, here begins the books that I got from Books A Million. I think almost all of them, except for just a couple on this last stack over here, I think all came from Books A Million, either in the store or online. Okay, so these next 2 books are part of a series. I think we have I think this one's book 8. Yes, Feverborn by Karen Marie Mooning. And I think this one is book 10, High Voltage. And these are part of the Fever series. And I pulled it up on Goodreads. So I've read some of the Fever series, like the first few books, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it took me a really long time to remember what this series was, because I wanted to like own it and be able to read the entirety. And there's like about to be an 11th book to this series. Apparently the 11th book comes out in 2021. But let me just tell you about the series. So it says it takes place in the same world as the Highlander series, includes the Danny O'Malley trilogy. Michaela Lane's life is good. She has great friends, a decent job, and a car that breaks down only every other week or so. In other words, she's your perfectly ordinary 21st century woman. Or so she thinks, until something extraordinary happens. When her sister is murdered, leaving a single clue to her death, a cryptic message on Mac's cell phone, Mac journeys to Ireland in search of answers. The quest to find her sister's killer draws her into a shadowy realm where nothing is as it seems, where good and evil wear the same treacherously seductive mask. Soon she is faced with an even greater challenge, staying alive long enough to learn how to handle a power she had no idea she possessed, a gift that allows her to see beyond the world of man, into the dangerous realm of the Fae. And I read this many, many years ago and loved it. And so yeah, I'm trying to collect the whole series so I can read it all again. So yes, now I have books 8 and 10. And I have another one of the books on my shelves as well, but it's somewhere in the middle of the series too. Okay, next up we have Rebel by Marie Lu. This is the 4th book in the Legend series. And let me tell you about the overall, what the Legend series is about. Set in a dark, futuristic Los Angeles, the western United States has become home of the Warring Republic. A young government prodigy, June, and the infamous Most Wanted criminal, Day, cross paths in this thrilling, romantic young adult series from best-selling author Marie Lu. And I've only read the first book in this series and really enjoyed it. And so when I saw this one at Books A Million for like $6.97, I had to snatch it up. Next up we have Hidden Sea by Gregory Maguire. This is the tale of the once and future Nutcracker. So I've read his Wicked series and I really, really enjoyed that. So I wanted to get this. Also, look. Creepy. This says, having brought his legions of devoted readers to Oz in Wicked and to Wonderland in After Alice, Maguire now takes us to the realms of the Brothers Grimm and E.T.A. Hoffmann, the enchanted Black Forest of Bavaria, and the salons of Munich. Hidden Sea imagines the backstory of the Nutcracker, revealing how this entrancing creature came to be carved and how he guided an ailing girl named Clara through a dreamy paradise on a Christmas Eve. At the heart of Hoffmann's mysterious tale hovers Godfather Daslamir, the ominous, canny, one-eyed toy maker made immortal by Petipa and Tchaikovsky's ballet, who presents the once and future Nutcracker to Clara, his goddaughter. But Hidden Sea is not just a retelling of a classic story. Maguire discovers in the flowering of German Romanticism a migrating strain of Hellenic mystery cult and ponders a profound question. How can a person who is abused by life, shortchanged and challenged, nevertheless access secrets that benefit the disadvantaged and powerless? Ultimately, Hidden Sea offers a message of hope. If the comprised Godfather Daslamir can bring an enchanted Nutcracker to a young girl in distress on a dark winter evening, perhaps everyone, however lonely or marginalized, has something precious to share. Okay, next up we have, these are also part of a series. We have Capturing the Devil and Escaping from Houdini by Carrie Maniscalco. And I also have on my shelf already Hunting Prince Dracula. So I'm only missing Stalking Jack the Ripper before I can actually start this series. But let me pull it up on Goodreads and I can tell you about the series. Okay, so I just pulled up the first book here, Stalking Jack the Ripper. Presented by James Patterson's new children's imprint, this deliciously creepy horror novel has a storyline inspired by the Ripper murders and an unexpected, blood-chilling conclusion. 17-year-old Audrey Rose Wadsworth was born a lord's daughter, with a life of wealth and privilege stretched out before her. But between the social teas and silk dress fittings, she leads a forbidden secret life. Against her stern father's wishes and society's expectations, Audrey often slips away to her uncle's laboratory to study the gruesome practice of forensic medicine. When her work on a string of savagely killed corpses drags Audrey into the investigation of a serial murderer, her search for answers brings her close to her own sheltered world. The story's shocking twists and turns, augmented with real sinister period photos, will make this dazzling #1 New York Times bestselling debut from author Carrie Maniscalco impossible to forget. Oh, I didn't realize that was her debut novel. And I know that my friend Clint absolutely adores this series, and so I want to read it. Okay, next up, oh, it's a cookbook. This is From Freezer to Instant Pot, the cookbook. And I have an Instant Pot and I'm absolutely in love with it. And so to be able to have something that literally you can put frozen food into and it cooks, like you don't have to thaw out the chicken and stuff, I think that's fabulous. Now granted, this doesn't have a lot of what I prefer in a cookbook. Like it doesn't have the nutritional information of the recipes broken down, or for that matter pictures of the recipes, but it's still a cool Instant Pot cookbook. Okay, next up we have Believe Me by J.P. Delaney. And this says, a struggling actor, a Brit in America without a green card, Claire needs work and money to survive. Then she gets both, but nothing like she expected. Claire agrees to become a decoy for a firm of divorce lawyers. Hired to entrap straying husbands, she must catch them on tape with their seductive propositions. The rules: never hit on the mark directly. Make it clear you're available, but he has to proposition you, not the other way around. The firm is after evidence, not coercion. The innocent have nothing to hide. Then the game changes. When the wife of one of Claire's targets is violently murdered, the cops are sure the husband is to blame. Desperate to catch him before he kills again, they enlist Claire to lure him into a confession. Claire can do this. She's brilliant at assuming a voice and an identity. For a woman who's mastered the art of manipulation, how difficult could it be to tempt a killer into a trap? Next up we have A Stranger on the Beach by Michelle Campbell. And this says, Caroline Stark's beach house was supposed to be her crowning achievement, a lavish, expensive space to showcase what she thought was her perfect family. But things may not be as perfect as they seem. Her husband is lying to her, the money is disappearing, and there's a stranger on the beach outside her house. As Caroline's marriage and her carefully constructed lifestyle begin to collapse around her, she turns to Aiden, the stranger, for comfort and revenge. After a brief and desperate fling that means nothing to Caroline and everything to him, Aiden's infatuation with Caroline, her family, and her house becomes more and more destructive. But who is manipulating whom in this deadly game of obsession and control? Who will take the blame when someone ends up dead? And what is Caroline hiding? Dun dun dun. Next up we have Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Young. I believe, let me get a check just to make sure, but I believe this is the second book in the Girls of Paper and Fire series. Yes. And so like the day I found this, I think it was like the day I finished or the day after I finished Girls of Paper and Fire. And I found this for $3.97 and I thought that was just incredible because I really, really enjoyed Girls of Paper and Fire. But let me tell you what it says about Girls of Paper and Fire, since I can't really tell you about this one. Each year, 8 beautiful girls are chosen as paper girls to serve the king. He's a demon king. It's the highest honor they could hope for and the most demeaning. This year there's a 9th, and instead of paper, she's made of fire. In this richly developed fantasy, Lee is a member of the paper caste, the lowest and most persecuted class of people in Akara. She lives in a remote village with her father where the decade-old trauma of watching her mother snatched by royal guards for an unknown fate still haunts her. Now the guards are back, and this time it's Lay they're after, the girl with the golden eyes whose rumored beauty has piqued the king's interest. Over weeks of training in the opulent but oppressive palace, Lay and 8 other girls learns the skills and charm that befit a king's consort. There she does the unthinkable. She falls in love. Her forbidden romance becomes enmeshed with the explosive plot that threatens her world's entire way of life. Lay, still the wide-eyed country girl at heart, must decide how far she's willing to go for justice and revenge. So she wants to find out what happened to her mom. That's one of the things why she's willing to go there. And as far as the romance, she falls in love with another one of the paper girls. So this is there is a queer romance in here, and it's great. But there's also a lot of trigger warnings for rape in here because it happens a lot. So be aware. But I really enjoyed the series, or at least the first book. Next up I have I See You by Claire McIntosh. And this says, it all starts during her commute home one night. Zoe Walker glances through a local paper and sees her own face staring back at her in a classified ad. With a grainy photo is a phone number and a listing for a website called findtheone.com. In the following day, she sees other women in the same ad, a different one every day, and nearly all of them show up in the newspapers as victims of increasingly violent crimes, including murder. With the help of a determined cop, Zoe uncovers the ad's twisted purpose, and suddenly the man on the train sitting across the car, the one smiling at Zoe, could be more than just a friendly stranger. He could be someone who has deliberately chosen her and is ready to make his next move. Okay, let me move over here so I can get to this stack. Okay, so I was just looking at the books over here, and I think only this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab it, is the only one that's not a Books A Million book. This is one I ordered off of Amazon because I read the first book in the series and really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to get the next book so I could have it to read as soon as possible, and that is The Clockwork Ghost, which is book 2 in the York series by Laura Ruby. So this is about this group of kids who are trying to save their apartment building. It's being bought by this evil land developer, and the building is one of the few remaining Morningstar buildings, and this land developer is trying to buy them up, they think, in order to find the Morningstar treasure. The Morningstar twins, from way back, like 150, 160 years ago, they developed a lot of amazing things for the city of New York. And before they disappeared, they left this cipher for people to figure out, which will lead to some kind of great treasure. And for 150, 160 years, people have tried to solve this cipher. And it just so happens that it takes a couple of kids named after these Morningstar twins and their friend from down the hall to figure out some of these clues and possibly find the treasure and save their building. Super fun, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm really looking forward to reading the second one. Okay, back to the rest of the Books A Million books. So we have Slay by Brittany Morris, and this says, by day, 17-year-old Kira Johnson is an honor student, a math tutor, and one of the only black kids at Jefferson Academy. But at home, she joins hundreds of thousands of black gamers who duel worldwide as Nubian personas in the secret multiplayer online role-playing card game Slay. No one knows Kira is the game developer. Not her friends, not her family, not even her boyfriend Malcolm, who believes video games are a distraction to keep the black man from becoming great. But when a teen in Kansas City is murdered over a dispute in the Slay world, news of the game reaches mainstream media, and Slay is labeled a racist, exclusionist, violent hub of thugs and criminals. Even worse, Kira faces potentially being sued for anti-white discrimination, and an anonymous troll infiltrates the game, threatening to harass all the players and take over. Driven to save the only world in which she can be herself, Kira must preserve her secret identity and harness what it means to be unapologetically black in a world intimidated by blackness. But can she protect her game without losing herself in the process? Ooh, I need some water. All this talking. Okay, next up we have Somebody's Daughter by David Bell. This says, in this pulse-pounding novel of psychological suspense from the USA Today best-selling award-winning author of Bring Her Home and Since She Went Away, a man must save the life of a little girl who just might be his daughter. When Michael Fraser's ex-wife Erica unexpectedly shows up on his doorstep, she drops a bombshell that threatens to rip his family apart. Her 10-year-old daughter is missing, and Michael is the father. Unsure whether this is the truth, but unwilling to leave the girl's fate to chance, Michael has no choice but to follow the elusive trail of the child he has always wanted but never knew he had. Over the course of one night, lies that span a decade come bubbling to the surface, putting Michael, his wife, and his whole family in jeopardy. And as the window for a little girl's safe return closes, Michael will have to decide who can be trusted and who is hiding the truth. Next up we have Fragments of the Lost by Megan Miranda. And this says, sometimes the pieces left behind tell a different story. Jessica Whitworth knows she doesn't belong in her ex-boyfriend Caleb's room, but Caleb's mother asked her to pack up his things, even though she blames Jessa for his accident. How could she say no? As Jessa begins to box up the pieces of Caleb's life, memories flood back that make Jessa realize their past relationship may not have been exactly as she thought. Each fragment of his life reveals a new clue that propels Jessa to search for the truth about Caleb's accident. What really happened on that storm-swept bridge? And did she ever know Caleb at all? Next, these three are actually part of a series. So we have book 1, The Lux, book 2, Rumors, and book 3, Envy. So I'll just tell you about book 1 here. What I do know right offhand about this series is it's like almost like a historical Gossip Girl, which I'm not a huge historical fiction person, but I also really love Gossip Girl, so I think this would be fun. This says, beautiful sisters Elizabeth and Diana Holland rule Manhattan's social scene, or so it appears. When the girls discover their status among New York City's elite is far from secure, suddenly everyone from the backstabbing socialite Penelope Hayes to the debonair bachelor Henry Schoonmaker, to the spiteful maid Lena Browd, threatens Elizabeth and Diana's golden future. With the fate of the Hollands resting on her shoulders, Elizabeth must choose between family duty and true love. But when her carriage overturns near the Hudson River, the girl whose glittering life lit up the city's gossip pages is swallowed by the rough current. As all of New York grieves, some begin to wonder whether life at the top proved too much for this ethereal beauty, or if perhaps someone wanted to see Manhattan's most celebrated daughter disappear. In a world of luxury and deception, appearance matters above everything, and breaking the social code means running the risk of being ostracized forever. The age of innocent is anything but innocent. And apparently book 4 is Splendor, but either they didn't have it, or they didn't have the paperback, or it wasn't part of the sale. I don't know. Because these were all like super cheap. They were all $3.97. And then the last book I have here is The Chestnut Man by Soren Syverstrup. And you can't see, actually hold on, let me see if I can peel this sticker off. So I can, oh no. I'm afraid I can't take that sticker off without messing something up. But I can show you the name here. So I don't know if I'm saying it right or not, but that's the name. Anyway. If you find one, he's already found you. A psychopath is terrorizing Copenhagen. His calling card is a chestnut man, a handmade doll made of matchsticks and 2 chestnuts, which he leaves at each bloody crime scene. Examining the dolls, forensics makes a shocking discovery, a fingerprint belonging to a young girl, a government minister's daughter who had been kidnapped and murdered a year ago. A tragic coincidence or something more twisted? To save innocent lives, a pair of detectives must put aside their differences to piece together the chestnut man's gruesome clues, because it's clear that the madman is on a mission that is far from over, and no one is safe. And I am just so excited. Well, I was going to say I'm so excited for every one of these books, but I'm not entirely excited about this one, but I'm getting rid of it. So I just wanted to put it in the haul video because it was a book that I got in September. So have you guys read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you.